Tony Smith is the co-founder of the Garage Gym, where he helps dads, business leaders, and teams improve their physical and mental performance. A former SWAT leader and crisis negotiator, Tony brings real-world experience in leadership, resilience, communication, stress management, and team building. Through coaching, speaking, facilitation, he helps people strengthen their mindset, lead with confidence, and perform at a higher level in business and life. Welcome back to another episode of Cracking the Success Vault. Today we are joined by Tony Smith, owner and founder of the Garage Gym, ex-SWAT officer. I'm really excited to talk about this conversation, especially after we had coffee. There's just so much to unpack in your story, how the gym got started, all that kind of stuff. But as always, I try to start every episode off with letting the audience kind of get an understanding of kind of like who Tony is. So why don't we start with like, where did you grow up? How did you grow up? What did your parents do? Because I find that a lot of that can translate into, you know, what a person does in the future, some of the life lessons they've learned and stuff like that. So why don't you just give us like a little intro as to kind of like, you know, who you are and where you grew up?
Well, that'll make my mom happy. So thank you. Yeah. I'm Tony Smith, and I grew up in Windsor. I was born in Windsor, Ontario, out in the West End. It's now the Brighton Beach area, which has no houses left. And when I was young, we moved into LaSalle, and that's pretty much where I was raised most of my years that I really remember, probably from grade school on. Spent most of my life there. My mom worked at Windsor Comp, which is when somebody gets hurt at work, she was one of the people who decided if you would get paid or not. So pretty stressful job, I think, because a lot of people are trying to fraud it, and a lot of people are legit, and it really impacts their lives, their decisions. And my dad was a cop. My dad was a cop since as long as I can remember. I think he spent 36 or 37 years in the police department, working in various units. And eventually, even though he had literally zero education and almost everybody in his family had served real time, he rose all the way to become the chief of police. Wow. So, my dad, my parents kind of educated me differently. I homeschool my kids right now with my wife, Danny. But all I do is gym class and throw batting practice. But she does homeschool, which they're doing right now. And my parents, now when I look back, I think they kind of homeschooled me in a way. I never did well in school. I had very little interest in school outside of gym class and recess. But my dad saw that I did have a real want to learn, and fed me a lot of books about leadership and all these different things. And I think it kind of molded me into being a little bit more of a free thinker than a stand in line kind of guy.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, that's like growing up with two different spectrums of parents, right? You've got one person who's, office job, dealing a lot with, like you said, people who are either trying to fraud the system or people who are legitimately hurt at work and trying to feed their families, which is a very sort of stressful job in and of itself. But then you've got, a police officer father who I'm assuming was also on the road, seeing lots of different things, different shifts, different times. What was that sort of like in terms of was it the typical childhood growing up with your parent who's a cop and just everything is super strict and always by the book? How does that sort of
my
work?
Dad's a strict guy, but he's not at the same time. I had a ton of freedom. I always say man, I can't believe my dad let me do that. Some of the things I did as a teenager, some of the trips and the adventures I was able to have. He was big time into camping, so the outdoors was a big part of our lives growing up. And then my mom, she was always, the good thing about her job was she was home on time. Right. So she left and she was the one who was there with us all the time, because my dad did work. If I could tell you how many Christmases that we waited around for him to come home to open presents, and he would come home in uniform and be there for 1 hour and then have to take off. And then as he rose through the ranks, getting called out, going to, homicides or whatever else he was doing. And, and then of course, I was older, I was actually already on the police department when he became the chief of police. And then, I was already moved out of the house and all those things, but then he became ultra busy. He was always gone or always on his phone.
Yeah. And so being more of that free thinker, having a little bit more, say, freedom, or your father giving you whether it's leadership books or development books and things like that, knowing that you weren't the person who was, I'll call it the employee path. Is that what led you into becoming a cop? Is it you looked up to your father and he was a cop? Is it just you saw what was going on and that's where you wanted to be? Like, how did you decide that policing was going to be the thing to do?
You know what? I think that decision was made for me long before I could decide that. Not by him. They wanted me to be a doctor. That's what my mom always said. But like, the grades were not going to support that. And I just wanted to be a cop ever since I was a little kid. So I'm sure it has to do with looking up to him. There's pictures of me wearing my dad's police hat. I was always, playing cowboys. Can you even say cowboys and Indians? But that was what we used to play growing up, right? Watching John Wayne movies. And James Bond movies and war movies. I just loved the hero aspect of things. And, I think really why I became a cop and really why I do what I do now with the gym was all about just, helping people. That's always kind of what I wanted to do, make a positive impact. And it's, it's carried on through over the years. And I think that helps, having a purpose beyond the mission, beyond the job helps you to stay focused on what you're going to do.
Yeah, I think, and I would agree with that because I think, it's one of those things where if a kid is brought up with, helping people, providing value, there's lots of different ways to help people, right? Whether it's being a police officer, whether it's helping, as an EMS person, when someone's, in dire trouble, health-wise, whether it's a doctor, financial services, like there's so many different ways to help people. And so when you became a cop, I'm curious, was it everything you thought it would be?
No, but I think I was more prepared than most people because my dad grew up rough. Like he grew up rough and tough in a shitty neighborhood with, all of his brothers and sisters living in a 1-bedroom house on Jeanette and having, family that had implications with the law, like serious implications with the law. He took me to, we did Cubs, like you remember Cub Scouts?
Yeah.
He was like a Cub leader or coach or whatever they called them, but we used to go to his old neighborhood and do the Cubs. So like I wasn't, and back then LaSalle wasn't what it is now. It wasn't, it was a cheaper, lower income neighborhood and cops used to make no money back when my dad did it, to the point where I think my dad got in trouble because he was still doing his tool and mold job. And because
at the same time,
trying to pay for things because as a cop, he wasn't cutting it right financially. So I was exposed to a lot of things and a lot of people and even my family Christmases, having, I love them but having family who was, alcoholics and very low income and like a lot of those things and just a mishmash of people, divorces and cousins and this and that. And I think that all helped me to prepare myself or him to prepare me or life to prepare me for the job I was about to take. And then, playing AKO football, to be honest, was like a huge learning curve for me too, in terms of experiencing different cultures, different people, some of the guys I played with who, didn't have money for spikes. Like there was, guys who were dealing drugs. It was just like, there was like such a different vibe in that locker room that it really helped me to, to not prepare me to police people. It was actually to prepare me to communicate with people, which is what honestly policing is all about. And I think it's a skill, the number one skill that's helped me to kind of get whatever success I do have in business now.
Yeah. And so how many years were you on the force for and what different areas, I guess, were you involved in?
Yeah. So November of 1999, AKO, we won the national championship for football on Saturday. Monday, I started as a police cadet. So talk about like the greatest weekend a 21-year-old could have. Yeah. Right. Went off, won the national championship, partied all night long. And then Monday started my career. And I worked as a cadet for a year. That's basically you have no gun. You're just serving subpoenas and doing all kinds of clerical work, really, and kind of learning people's names and systems. And then I went on to be a constable on the road. You have to be on the road for a minimum of, I think, 4 or 5 years. I could be wrong at this point, but did 4 or 5 years on the road. And then I tried out for, we call it ESU, which is SWAT. You commonly know as SWAT. So ESU is Emergency Services Unit. 12 guys tried out. It was a hard team to get onto. Usually they take 1 or 2 people a year, and most guys try out 2, 3, 4 times. And somehow I was chosen on my first roundabout and went right into there at like probably 25 years old. I then spent the next 10 years there. After a couple of years, I was moved into the team leader position, which is pretty sweet. I think that's one of the things on the resume that I like cherish the most is because that's chosen by the team. It's like a team captain in hockey. Like there's no bump in pay. There's no official authority. It's just you're chosen by the team to be, at the end of the day, we need to go in one way. We have a lot of great ideas, but we need to go in one direction. Yeah. And that's what they tasked me with. And then after 10 years there, I was moved back into patrol where I spent roughly about 4 or 5 years before I say retired, they say quit. So
sure. Yeah. Semantics, right?
Semantics. Tomato.
So, the thing that I like about that story, especially when you told it to me over coffee, is I think back to the little like meme where you've got the leader sitting on like a pedestal and everybody's trying to pull the leader forward, right? Or you've got the leader at the front of the pack helping pull. The interesting part is that becoming the team lead for SWAT, being chosen by your fellow man, they obviously must have seen something in you that, as you know, a really young guy on the team, that they thought, we want to follow this guy, right? Because you're ultimately the guy not making all of the decisions, but you know, you got to help everybody communicate, and you're choosing what route you're going to go, right? After getting all of the information. But why do you think they chose you to be that spot, having the least amount of experience on the team?
Yeah, I was very low in seniority when I got that position. And it was a shock to me, honestly, when I got the call that I knew I would have been nominated, but usually they throw your name up there just to say like, hey, you know, you should think about doing this in the future. And then to find out that I actually got it was a little bit of a shock to me. And then the very first morning, like 3 hours after I found out I got it, there was a murder and the guy was like held up in the house, and I had to go out there and like lead this thing. And I think what they saw in me was potential, honestly. And I think they saw like I had like I said, my dad raised me to be almost a critical thinker. We were always like, what did you think there? What did you see there? Why did you do that? What would you do? That was always the kind of questions me and my dad had, you know, in the cars, you know, growing up, coming back from sports or seeing something out of, you know, seeing some behavior in the, you know, in the streets or at a family party. And I think that that's what they saw, is that I was willing to speak up and question things, but I was also very dedicated to all of them. At that point in my life, I really had nothing. I had a dog and in a small little house. I didn't have a wife and kids, what a lot of them had. So I was able to like give 100% of myself to that team. And I think that's what they saw. And I think they saw that I listen and I learn and I will lean on other people. And with 2 years on that team and guys who had done thousands of raids and I had done 100, you know, I think that they knew that they could help to lead me, which is what they did. Like I was the team leader, but they were the foundation, and they were the leading me forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just like hearing you say that again is like, you see so many, like, again, whether it's war movies or spy movies or whatever, where the one person who puts his ego before everything else is when you get in trouble, right? Whereas when you're very like, I need to gather all of the information to make the best decision possible, you're more likely to, you know, survive an attack, whatever the case may be. I mean, you hear it a lot with like SEAL guys, right? Like one person isn't just like, we're doing this and, you know, I don't care what anybody else thinks, we're just going to go do this. Because once your team starts questioning that, that's where the problems sort of come into play, right? So in terms of that experience with SWAT, being in that team lead, if you could give the audience, let's say, one or two sort of, I'll call them leadership skills, tactics, things you learned in SWAT that transitioned into the business, and we're going to talk about the garage gym in a second, but what are some of the things you think you took away from that experience that made the business of the gym such a success?
I mean, there's lots. I think leading, and when you talk about my team at the garage gym, the team with me, and when I say team at the garage gym, I really do mean 350 members deep, the garage gym army, not just like the 5 people who work for me immediately and the bigger part-time team. But I think it's when you're leading, your job is to extract potential from people. That is it. Your job is to extract potential from people and put them in a position to succeed. So knowing your team, you know, knowing what makes them tick, extracting that potential, taking in, like, giving them power. right? I was, as the team leader, when I first started on the team, I was my specialty. Everybody gets like a position, basically like center field or back catcher, right? My job on the team was less lethal options. So the taser, gas, pepper spray, defensive tactics. So everything that'll hurt you without killing you was my specialty. And then once you become the team leader, you stop having a specialty. So my job was to lean on everybody who had specialties, say, this is what we have. We need this, we need this, we need this. What do you think? Make a plan, come back to me. And I think that's part of it. And then the biggest part, I think, of leadership, and I say this in every leadership talk I do a lot of talks with businesses and motivational kind of things and coaching. And what I say is, like, if you really want to lead, you have to stand beside them in battle, right? Stand behind them in success, and then stand in front of them during failure, meaning it's on you, right? Extreme Ownership, great book.
Yeah,
talked about the SEALs. Stand in front of them during failure. And when you stand in front of them during failure, you'll be amazed at how fast they step forward to stand next to you. That is what I would give anybody who's looking to lead.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think that's helped in terms of growing the business? Because obviously you can't train 350 people yourself. We were just sort of joking before that we started this, that you've got a schedule of the gyms that you go to and what time you're there to train. And you love the fact that you know all of the members at the gym, but now that you're growing so much, it's kind of getting away from you a little bit because you're not there at evening because you got your family and stuff like that. It's got to be important for you to have that because your team has to be there when you're not there, right?
Right. The team is doing it in their own way. We have leaders at each facility now, which was a big step in our growth lately. And yeah, I am in there learning everybody's names, and the people who I'm not familiar with right now have probably signed up in the last month, but I will learn them and I'll know what they do. I'll know if they're married. I'll know if they have kids. That'll be part of, it's the intel that we gather. And when we're talking about like the business growing, when somebody comes into the gym, my job is to extract potential, put them into a position to succeed, right? And I do not view that just in fitness, and we never have. Before, we've been open for 10 years, and we were talking about the mind is primary, and that this is a place before mental health was a buzzword. Mm-hmm. It's in our mission that we are here to improve your physical and mental well-being, and going in and lending perspective to people on their stressful day. I have an ability. My wife, who was a cop for 13 years, she has an ability to talk to another mother and say, like, hey, like let's have some perspective on what's stressing you out. Like, let's focus on what can be good. And that's how we've grown. And by giving responsibility to the members, to our team, to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about a sort of a company culture that you guys have, which I love, and we're going to talk about in a second. But so now that we're talking about the gym, let's talk about that. So the gym started as when you were on SWAT, part of your job was to work out. And you would always, go in early, get a workout in before shift starts and all that stuff. And then it kind of shifted. So tell the audience sort of how it shifted and how it sort of became what it is today.
Yeah. So during my last, I was in SWAT, and I don't know how long I had been there. And at this point, and we were working, like, after the John Atkinson murder, that happened in 2006, the police officer was shot and killed. We just passed the 20-year anniversary of that tragic day. After that, they basically doubled. So SWAT doesn't do any police work, so to speak. They don't do investigations. Like, their job is to, if this was the target of the investigation, we know there's evidence in here, there's people in here that are wanted parties or suspected to be wanted. Our job is to come in, secure this place, make it safe for the investigating team to come in and finish the job.
Right.
So we were just a tool. So for that, we were working. Basically, where I was going with that is they almost, I think, doubled the amount of drug and gun officers. And we had more people put into major crimes. We had other specialty units created, but our team
SWAT
stayed the same
double.
size, right? So at a certain point, we had this crazy stat where we had done 220 raids with 16 people, and Toronto, as massive as it is, had done 280 with 80 people. So we were working around the clock. We were getting tired. We were getting worn out. Our workouts were suffering. Like part of SWAT, you get to come in. I still believe it's the same. You come in, you spend your first hour of your shift in the gym, hit the showers, and then you're on for the day. That there's nothing pending, obviously.
Sure.
And so I was looking around. The workouts were suffering, and my wife at that time, she, we had been married very long at this point, and she saw that we were hurting, and she surprised me with a trip to see my friend who was running Jim Jones. He was a former cop, UFC fighter, and a roommate of mine at the police academy for a course. And he was running this company called Jim Jones, who were famous for making the movie 300. Like they trained the 300 actors. They didn't make the movie. They trained the actors who were all jacked.
Yeah.
And so I was following his workouts, and she sent me down there to surprise visit him in Salt Lake City. And he happened to be running a seminar. And he's like, yeah, just send him down and I'll put him through the seminar while he's here. Have fun. So I did the seminar. I really liked it. Started doing some of the stuff I learned there with the team. I'd always had a passion for fitness. And then went back for another one, and then another one. And then all of a sudden, things really started rolling. The team was killing it. Our workouts were awesome. People were loving it. We were communicating better. And then I got moved from SWAT and basically decided that, I didn't want to go in and work out on my own because patrol didn't have that luxury of, they have a great gym at the police department. I used to work out there, but I got paid to do it. And I didn't want to be there a minute for free. I wasn't very happy about moving off the team. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah. And, I started doing these things in my house. I put a little bit of a gym in my house, and then a bartender was telling me what he's going to pay somebody to train him. I'm like, man, I'll just show you some stuff. I've known you forever. Come in my house. I'll show you some things. And then he kept coming back, and then he started bringing some friends. And then whatever happened, we grew from those 3 people we started to collect a little bit of money when they would show up. We got about 20 people. My wife got certified. She was off with our babies, and she started training some people. And then we moved to a bigger house with an offset garage that was like more like a barn where we live today. It was 2.5 and car garage. And all of a sudden we had like 40 people coming to my house. And like, I have neighbors, and I was still a cop. My wife was still a cop, and people are knocking on our doors like, is this the garage gym? And I'm like, oh my God, I think it's time for us to look to make a step. And we looked at the old home hardware building in Amherstburg, which is huge. It's the corner of Richmond and Alma. It's not that anymore. And, Richmond in front. And we looked, and I was like, man, this is way too big for us. There's no way this place, like the rent is huge. We have no rent at home. And then a year later, we were in that place, and we took everything from our garage and put into this big building, pushed it up against the front window, put up a sign and said, we're open for business. And within a year, we were at like 100 people. And we haven't stopped since, growing into a second and a third location.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that your wife was there supporting you guys throughout that. Like, what were some of the things for anybody who might be listening who wants to start a business that already has a career, making good money or doing, but just doesn't love it anymore, right? Taking that leap of faith to go get a lease on a building, and you're counting on other people to support your dream or the thing that you love. What were some of those conversations that you and your wife were having when it came to like, are we really going to do this? Are we going to put up, whether it's life savings or time or energy into doing this while you were still, as a cop and all that kind of stuff? What were some of those conversations like when you're taking that leap to get into business for yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, she was more than supportive. She was,
the driving factor.
She was a 50% of this, if not more, right? And, she was kind of the one who stemmed it all. And I think she saw me starting to light up again, right? Like this is called the Success Vault, right? And I think like if you're an owner, something to consider is the police department thought that I was motivated by money. I think, like, I can't speak for them now because this is long gone, most of these people who made the decisions, but they assumed that I wanted to be promoted and that would motivate me to continue. But I had already done everything I set out to do in that job. And so when I was being moved from the team, I had no more interest. I had no more drive. I had no more passion, for a career path. I had already done it. So I went back to patrol, and I worked my ass off to be the best patrol cop I could be, to have a positive influence on the people around me, use my experience for the junior people. When I went back to that job, though, it wasn't the same job I signed up for. It wasn't. The police work even then was gone, and police work is even more gone now because of laws, administrative things, politics, whatever it might be. There's still great cops doing hero work every day. Do not get me wrong. Yeah. And that stuff I would be back there for in a second. But this, we were driving around being more like clerical, like we were secretaries in police cars doing insurance work. And I lost my passion for it. And it was time to move on. And I think that's where people need to understand it. But that police department was able to fund. I didn't start from scratch. I was making $100,000 a year. I had a great job. Cost me a lot of sleep, but I was able to kind of like stay driven at work because I had this other thing, right? So I was still doing my job every day, killing it, and then going to pour my heart and soul into this thing and funding it, right? It takes a long time to make money in business. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people, the police department, the skill set, and the finances help set up the garage gym. And I will always be there to support every cop in every way that I can outside of that job.
Yeah. And it's interesting because after our conversation, I went and watched a few of the podcasts that you've done with other people as a guest or hosting and stuff like that. And we didn't talk about that at coffee, where you were working your full like 10, 12 hour shift as a police officer and then going to work at the gym to train members, recruit other members, grow the gym, et cetera. And it kind of brought me to my story where like I moved here from Alberta knowing nobody. I took a night shift job at Good Life because everybody who works out at a gym wants to, better themselves, whether it's health-wise, financial-wise, career-wise, whatever. And I worked a night shift job at Good Life. And then I'd go home and sleep for a couple hours and wake up and go to the office and then door knock and prospect and meet people, because that's just kind of what I had to do. But I was so driven to like, I want to make this work. I need to make this work, that you just kind of did what you did. Right. Is that kind of where you got that kind of motivation from? Is you're just like, we're going to go all in this gym. And so if we're going to go all in this gym to make it work for this short window of time, it's just, that's what I got to do.
Yeah, like at a certain point, so my wife was still a police officer. She was off with the babies, and my wife did some pretty exciting job there. But she will tell you herself, this is not me sounding like a chauvinist. She'll tell you herself that her values and her drive and purpose changed when we had children. And, I was not upset that she did not want to, really go work the streets anymore. Yeah. Right. And because we had these kids, and I wasn't thrilled about her being back, because she went back on the road when we had kids, after between our two boys. And I wasn't thrilled about it, but of course I support if that's what she wanted to do. And she started to realize that no, she didn't want to do that. And there wasn't many other options. She didn't really want to go and work, a lot of men and women in the police department, they go, and when their things change, they can find a desk job in the police department. She also didn't like that. So really, she was the first one where the exit strategy started to come in. We figure we still have my, good paying career, which probably paid exactly the same as hers. I would imagine something within, maybe I was a little bit more because I was senior, and we had her pension to kind of gamble with, I guess, because we still had the security of my job and my pension, right, and my benefits. And I had the lifetime benefits at that time. So we made the plan for her to be the first one out. Okay. And so she left first. And with that, though, came that the administrative side of this gym, which was now open and operating in an actual location with a rent and freaking hard fixed costs, that she would have to focus on the administrative side of the gym and still train a lot. And, we had the opportunity, with my shifts, as I could watch the kids, and we had lots of help. And she started to kill it. And the business went up 30% within like probably 4 to 6 months of her quitting. Because the laser focus was now, she was one, she had a lot of things going on still, but there was one big chunk that was gone. Yeah. Right. So more for, so say it was like maybe the gym was getting 20%, now it was getting 60% of her focus. Yeah. Right. And then as things grew and grew and grew, we opened a second location in Kingsville, and that place started to do okay. And then I broke my ankle. Training a UFC fighter. I was out for a jog with her, just a simple jog, not even anything exciting. I broke my ankle. And this little 100-pound fighter had to carry me back to the gym. And I was off for a significant amount of time because I couldn't work. And but I was still hobbling in and sitting on a box and coaching classes in the gym because like we couldn't afford to pay anybody to be there. Yeah. And I just started to realize I like doing this more with a cast on my leg than I liked being at my other job at this point. Yeah. And so kind of made a plan. I went on a course. I went to California with some friends who are gym owners and now are like actually gym mentors, and They run the Business of Strength, which who I also coach with. They help other gyms to do the business side of things. I went on a course with them, and we sat in on like some like kumbaya type thing that I never thought I'd be involved with. And we had just been in this crazy shooting where some friends of mine on our shift had forced to shoot and kill somebody. And it was a wild call. And I just said, you know what? July 1st, I'm done. I quit.
Wow.
I set a hard date, and July 1st is around the corner. And I think that'll be 8 years since I walked away.
Wow.
And on July
So how much
1st,
time did you
I
give
sent an
yourself
email and walked away. That's it.
From
Never
when you
went
were
back.
on this course to like July 1st being my
I want to say 80, 90 days. It was
Okay, like you gave yourself
I think that thing was
months.
in May, and I went in July.
Wow.
You know, and I just basically walked out of there for the last time, said goodbye to a couple people that I told, and everybody. And then I came home. I sent an email to my members, to the Garage Gym Army, and said, "I'm all in. I hope you're with me." And that was it. I went on vacation the next day to a cottage and with my best friends. Told them, and we had fun for a week, and then I came back, and you know, I looked back maybe a little bit, especially during COVID. Sure. But like, you know, really never looked back.
Yeah. And so you guys, you've grown this thing from, you know, one bartender at your house garage to 350 members. When I was listening to one of the podcasts, I think you were a guest on, I can't remember what the lady's name was. And she mentioned something about like, how did you get it started? Was it all just your own network, your own warm market network, just word of mouth? She asked if it was like marketing or like, you know, did you guys do anything to get the gym to grow? And she said there was an interesting thing of sort of how you got sort of some seed capital to grow. You want to tell that story a little bit as to like how you know?
Yeah, so we are still, I mean, we still spend like $0 on marketing. Sure, I pay somebody who edits some videos here and there for me, but for the most part, there's no advertising budget, zero. Yeah. And really, I don't know if we've ever spent maybe more than $500 here or there on Facebook ads to try to figure it out and then just quit on it. The town of Amherstburg adopted us. Like small towns, we moved there 15 years ago, maybe almost 20 years ago now, and Amherstburg adopted us, and that's how we built our network of people. But when we were in our house, still in our garage, there was a you know, I'd say 15 to 20 people that were very good friends that were either paying us very nominally amount of money or very nominal amount of money to come into the garage or nothing at all, and always wanted to pay. And I really believe, like, instead of going to your friends and asking for discounts, you should want to pay your friends full price and ask strangers for discounts. Mm-hmm. And these were those people to me. They wanted to pay. And when I moved into that building, or when I knew I was moving into the building before they did, I sent forth an email or had conversations or a handwritten note and basically offered them all lifetime memberships. And that lifetime membership was, I mean, it's less than a 1-year membership at the Garage Gym 5 years ago, let alone now. Right. And that outline said, if we last in business 1 year, you'll be ahead. If we last forever, you'll be way ahead, and you'll always have a part in this place. Right. And I think 19 out of 20 people said yes. So that allowed us to get a chunk of money, to get some equipment, to, you know, pay some deposits, to really set ourselves up very nicely to be, you know, for success. Yeah. And those people are bought in forever.
I was going to say,
and not just are they bought in, but if they call right now, you know, and they had something, I would be the first person to support them.
100%. And is that something you read from a leadership book? Is that something that someone taught you at a course? Is that just like an idea that you and Danny were like, why don't we do this? Like, where did that idea come from?
You know what? At this point, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure we just came up with that in our own way. We knew there was people that really wanted to support us and wanted to see us win. Yeah. And that's it.
And we asked. It kind of grew.
You know.
And so what was it like then?
Just ask.
That's
what I say to people all the time. Just ask. Just say it. Clarity.
The answer is no unless you ask, right? So you might as well just ask. I mean, I try to tell my sales guys all the time, right? Like, if you don't pick up the phone and make a phone call, then you're 100% guaranteed not to sell anything, not to talk to anybody, not to even ask. Like, you didn't even try, right? But if all you did was pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, this is what we do, this is how we can help, whatever, at least there's a chance that you can not just make a sale for your own life, but change someone else's life, right? Like, you have no idea,
net,
you
gotta put shots on net.
Got to put shots on net, 100%, right? So, so you mentioned that you guys haven't done like barely any money spent in marketing.
No, like next to nothing.
Next
Like
to
I'm
nothing.
talking $500 in 10 years, like maybe
Yeah.
$50 here or there.
And so everything has basically been word of mouth through friends, family,
Social
people
media
already,
does
social
play a big
media.
part. Like
And so
we're not boosting posts, but we're posting.
yeah,
all the
and
time.
so what did you guys do for that? Because I know that you had a couple different people. You guys were running a podcast. Was it specific content you guys were trying to post? Was it workout content? Like, how did you guys come up with that plan? Is it just in general, you just posted whatever you felt like posting?
Honestly, we posted whatever we wanted to post, and usually it was my thoughts, opinions, especially back in the day. And now it's more about highlighting the members. Like we have a program we're going right now, the Summer Shred. We're selling that. That one's actively, like, it's active selling. It's pretty clear we're selling a product, but almost every other day outside of these 2 weeks, and we'll do that 4 times a year. So whatever that equals out to, minus 8 weeks off of 52. So the other, 44, the other 44 weeks in the year, we're just celebrating our members. We're giving opinions on fitness. We're giving relatable, like, everybody's too busy. I mean, everybody's too busy. I used to work, 40 to 50 hours on call all day, 2 kids and a gym. And I found a way.
Yeah.
So don't tell me you're too busy. We all have time if you prioritize some time. So I'm able to very easily relate what being busy is. And now we're a different kind of busy. 2 kids in travel sports, 3 gyms, a side business of leadership. At one point, the podcast, and we can all find a way to. There's still ways to eat healthy. So I'm just a normal guy. Yeah. And people, I think, understand that, and it relates to moms and dads. And back then, it related to young moms and dads, or people who are like, our membership has grown with us. Yeah. Like, it's kind of followed our age group, and I think that really, really helps us to relate and to get people in. And honest to God, the number one thing that brings in people to our gym is not me posting on social media a picture of somebody. It is the members saying,
getting results.
Hey, I want to bring my friend in. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they do. Yeah. And they bring friends in, and and that's how we sell memberships.
The best type of client you can possibly have is a happy client that sees results. Because a happy client that sees results is going to refer them, you, gym, whatever, to the thing that's helping them, right? Whether it's my business in financial services, yours in the gym, whatever it is, if someone's happy and seeing results from what they're doing, they're going to refer you to people, right? And so the thing that I liked sort of about that story is there's a lot of business owners, a lot of people in general, not just business owners, that have like the paralysis by analysis. They're constantly trying, what's the best way to do this? What's the thing? And you were just kind of like, yeah, you know what? We're just going to post things. We're just going to take the initiative. We're just going to start posting, whether it's your own thoughts, your own experiences, whatever. You didn't like sit and think for days and days and days about what's this crazy marketing strategy going to be like, or how are we going to attract people? You just kind of started doing things. You obviously would have had to sort of learn some lessons maybe along the way of what worked and what didn't work. Were there some things that worked better than others?
Yeah, I mean, there's still things that work better than others. But the one thing is our product has not really changed. When we got into this, cardio was the thing. Like, it was very, women do cardio, lift light weights, do more running, eat less food. And my wife was strongly against that. And we stuck with it. Even though it cost us members, even though people wanted to have more cardio days in the gym, less strength days, we stuck to what we really believed was right. And at a certain point, I think the world started to agree, and it wasn't just agree with us. There's all kinds of factors that helped that, where now it is women should be strong. Women need to be strong. Men need to be strong. Strength is, strength and conditioning, strength being the formal, the priority, is going to help you when you're older. And we've stuck to that. And now, as certain things have started to move, to like F45s and high rocks and things like that, all great. I think everything like that is awesome. The more people that get moving, the better. How you're moving really doesn't matter. I do think there's a better way, and I'm not criticizing anything else. I'm just saying I think there's the best way to do it. And I think that is, like, I say, like, what can you do getting out of bed in the morning, right? And that's like, and for SWAT, it really sounds funny, but like a SWAT operator training's much like, somebody who's doing mortgages or selling insurance. Like, we need to be fit and strong, but we need to be able to go to work the next day. I can't be so broken and sore that now when I got to go to the 24th floor carrying a RAM, 40 pounds of equipment and kick in a door to take down 6 bad guys.
I'm exhausted.
I have to be fit enough, but also not broken. Yeah. So it's like, keeping people uninjured. So risk adverse training, general physical preparedness is really what we do. And we've stuck to that product no matter what the fads that have happened. We've stuck to simple, effective nutrition through keto, through vegan, through all these things, carnivore, like all these different things. Do we learn about them? Of course we can, because there's bits and pieces of CrossFit, of F45, of bodybuilding, of powerlifting that we can take and put into our business, because we belong to nobody. There's no investors. There's no partnerships. I don't pay anybody to do my programming. We do it in-house. It's us. And we will take, and I am not locked into any dogma, just like I wasn't in SWAT locked into any one way of doing things. Right. We need to do what's best for this job right now.
Because every situation is going to call for something different.
Right. And the more I know, the more options I know, the more I know what not to do, and the more I know what to do. So we treat fitness and nutrition the same way.
Yeah. And so we talked a little bit about this as I left for coffee. So in my business, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and you can have 8 billion different variations of a financial plan or an insurance plan or whatever. When it comes to fitness, you obviously can't have 350 members and 350 members all do something completely different in the gym, because then you're just, a Good Life or a Planet Fitness. Exactly. And people are kind of coming and going. So explain to anybody listening, what is sort of the setup with Garage Gym? Is it very group sessions? Is it all group sessions? Like how does it work?
The majority of what we do is group sessions. It is strength, prioritizing strength, right? So low body, upper body, full body. We have different splits all the time. We do blend, I would say we blend powerlifting and bodybuilding very much, because we do value those as great ways to gain strength, hypertrophy, all those great things, putting muscle on your body, so that, and lean muscle, right? So we're very focused on body composition through nutrition as well, right? We're not looking at fat loss. Some people it's necessary, but for the most, we're trying to change your insides, right? We're trying to create more lean muscle, create less body fat, and get away some of those things that stick around the organs, which are going to cause you issues when you're older. Yeah. And I mean, cause you issues now. I guess I'm 47 years old. So that's kind of how we do things. So typically we have Monday and Tuesday are strength days. Wednesday we have a conditioning day, which doesn't look, much like, it's not like we're going to sit there and watch you run on a treadmill for 60 minutes. So it pays me to do that. So we can make it a little bit more fun, moving around, some fun movements. Thursday back to strength. Friday we call that Fuck You Friday. It's just a tradition we've had since I was on SWAT. It came from Jim Jones, and it was like where it is the hardest workout of the week. Sometimes it has nothing to do with fitness and more to do with just doing something really, really hard. Yeah. And Saturday we're back to strength. So we just stick to that template. And then my coach's jobs, my job when I'm training, is like the workout is there. The workout's the same for everybody who walks in the class that day, but it's a blank canvas. And my trainer's job is to add color for every person in there. Whereas my mom, who's, I won't say her age, she'll get pissed, but my mom's in there, she's not jumping up on a box, but the 19-year-old Muay Thai fighter who just joined the gym, he's jumping on a box, right? So we're adjusting. Somebody's back squatting, somebody will be goblet squatting. Somebody's got a shoulder issue, they're doing this. We do that, and we know every single member in there and what they need, what their limitations are, and we do our best to make that the best day, the best hour of their life. Yeah. Of their day.
So what kind of a workout would you do on a Friday? Because now I'm just curious. From my own sports background,
Fridays we do a lot of team building. We say culture is a big thing. So Fridays are like a big team building day. Okay. Fridays we'll do it's us versus them, these 6 people versus these 6 people in a relay, and we blend the teams as best we can, and then we add a little bit of work to it. Friday, some days we call them like a single movement mindfuck. Well, we'll do the same movement for 45 straight minutes, and it's just a grind. And it's about, getting out of your comfort zone and
doing something
and creating some mental toughness, which is like, continuing when other people won't really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, workouts can do that. I mean, I did, you're probably very familiar with like 75 hard. Yep. Andy Frisella, like I did it during COVID. And it's just like the little things matter, right? But it's not even it's not a fitness thing. It's can you do the things the thing that you said you were going to do every day for a consistent period of time.
Right.
And what typically happens is like the first 7 to 10 days is like pretty hard, kind of grueling, getting your body moving again, trying to create the habit. Then what ends up happening is for like 4 to 6 weeks, or 4 to 5 weeks, you're kind of like, I can do this. This is easy. And then what happens, which is this weird thing, is you get really comfortable, right? You're like, I've been doing it for 2 months. It's comfortable. It's easy. The day is set. It's going. And I found when I did 75 hard that like the last 2 weeks, you're so close to the finish line that you're like, oh man, like it's going to be an easy day. And you hit the snooze button and then your whole day is thrown off and you don't have time for a workout, or you can't do the food that you had, or because you got so comfortable with how it had gone for 2 months that I found the hardest part was like the last 2 weeks.
You're out walking at night at 11 o'clock at night because you didn't get it done. Yeah. I mean, I've been there through that thing. And mental toughness, I have a great mentor, Sean Bacon. And I think he comes up with the best definition of mental toughness. Mental toughness is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, particularly when it's challenging. And I think that's what 75 hard. I think that's what our gym tries to hit home every single day. And we're not telling people to be 100% strict. I don't think that's doable. Like I always say, it's you're going to get a lot more by eating 80% of a watermelon rather than eating 100% of a grape. So if you're going to be super strict for 75 days, there's purpose to that. If you're going to be super strict to 75 days, you're not going to be able to hold that for 365 days. So if you only super strict for 75 days or 3 months in a year or 4 months in a year, you got 8 months where you weren't. But if we can be on point with some pretty good habits all the time, you're going to be way ahead. Yeah. It's like consistency. It's not we're not getting this today or tomorrow. We're doing this forever.
Right.
Right. This is what we do. That's what culture is. This is how we do it. And this is where we do it.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the culture. I think the one thing that can separate businesses from others is culture, right? And you sort of told me this story about, whether it's, a member showing up and wanting to do things a certain way. And at a certain time, you kind of have to, as the business owner, say, like, this place probably just isn't for you. How did you and Danny decide what the culture was going to be and where you guys were going to draw the lines in terms of, what to tolerate and what not to tolerate?
Yeah, the members will joke. The members who have been around for a long time that I used to be a lot harder on them, and I'm a lot. And they're right. But we needed to be because we were really setting the tone for where we are now. And now it's just the way it is. Like the member, I don't really have to say much. The members show it. The members are the ones that are showing how we do it here, right? Which is culture. That's how we do it here. And, that's in the past, having to ask people to leave the gym, the music offends me. Well, if the music offends you, I certainly will offend you. So maybe this isn't the right place for you. Yeah. It's too hot in here. Well, it's hot in here, right? Yeah, you'll hear people joke about like, you don't need water. You don't need water in between every set. You don't need water every time you come off your ski relay. I can tell you, I have seen children living in some of these places I've been who haven't had water in a day. Yeah. You can get through half an hour without having water. Drink the water before you come in, drink it after. Don't make an excuse to stop what you're doing right now to go grab a sip of water. Yeah. Right? That's a comfort thing. And so we speak on that stuff all the time. And we're very clear and open and honest. Like my members know, like they want this piece of equipment. It's like, I'm very open. We can't finance that right now. If we do really good this quarter, if we get 10 more people, we can probably handle that. They'll hear me talk about stuff. They hear me talk about money. Yeah. They hear me talk about different situations, why I'm making this decision. And they've also heard me gone on plenty of times to say like, listen, we did this and it's not working. And we're going to pivot right now and try to make it right. And this might not work. And if we have to change it again, we'll change it. Yeah. They understand that we'll do that. Today, a member sat down with me and every member is going to be heard and considered. But that's it. Doesn't mean they're right.
Right.
I had members sit down with me and much respect to him for doing that. Hey, I need to talk to you. Sat down with me, had an open conversation. Hey, this is happening on Saturday. I don't really like it. But they know. The members know, my staff knows, my kids know. Don't come in here with a complaint. Come in here with a problem and a solution to that problem.
what you think should
Right.
fix
And this member
change.
did that and he came up with it. And I said, man, I love that. Yeah, no problem. We can do that. Do you understand why I'm doing it this way? Yeah, I do. I get it. Do you understand that, you know, I have 300 people consider not just one? And he does. Like, that was not even something I had to say.
Right.
He does understand that. I'm not just making this decision based on him.
Mm-hmm.
But he came up with a solution. It's good. The members are happy and we solve it right then and there. So they have a lot of say. Yeah. We have open forums. We have town halls, we call them, where all the members are able to come on and I will explain something big happening in the gym that's maybe a change. I listen to them. I consider it. And sometimes, man, they give me a way better idea. You know, we have an upgraded program we call the Strength Squad. We just added in Kingsville. And one of the members who's, been around, the other members went to him because he's got seniority, he's got more respect, he's got more say, right? You're brand new, you don't have as much say. And the senior guy came to me and said, hey, can I talk to you about this? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I never thought of that. You're right. Let's make that change and let's do it now. Mm-hmm. And that's the best part about owning your own business is like in the police department, if I want to make a change, I got to send a memo. It goes up for 10 different ways.
But at the same time though,
here I can make changes when I want them.
Yeah, but at the same time though, I think you probably got a lot of that from having to make decisions as the team lead.
That was the beauty of team leader.
Seeing that
I had to only explain
my
decisions after.
Right. You just got to do.
Because it was dynamic most of the stuff.
Especially when it's like life or death or, I mean, we've all seen SWAT movies. We've all seen things like that. I mean, I had one, down the street from my house maybe last year or 2 years ago. And it's just wild to see like what goes on and everybody's just like on point in staying in one spot for hours and hours and hours while things are trying to be diffused or whatnot. But decisions have to be made and they can't be like, hey, we got to call the office and is someone giving us, like, there's got to be some autonomy to making a decision. And then you as the leader then ultimately have to live with that decision at the same time.
Right.
Right. That's interesting that you have such a culture of the members being able to give you that advice and change, whether it's programming, whether it's, could you give an example of something that someone would say besides the music when you're like, that's fine, like just leave? What would be an example of something that someone came to you and said, hey, listen, this minor thing, whatever, how can we fix it? And they give you like a solution. Like what would you,
the one last week I talked about was some class times.
Oh, really?
It was like, hey, we put out here and, they had signed up for the program. So I was kind of surprised that they were upset with the class times because they just signed up for it. But there was some kind of miscommunication, something that they didn't understand that we didn't, when you look back on them, like, yeah, you know what? We didn't do a good enough job of explaining that. And now they've come out to me. They also have a solution and it's reasonable. Let's do it. So
times were just at the wrong time.
Right. And sometimes though they come to me and say like, no, that's a no. I just can't do that. You want this class at this time. I can't do that. We can't afford that, or we can't make that work with our other plans, and they understand, like, and I will explain why. Yeah. So they understand why I'm making a decision and that leadership, you talked to one of the first questions you asked me is like, if you can take something from leadership. I think leadership, the burden of leadership, in this particular, when you have a life and death type job, like I used to have, and like these guys and girls are out there dealing with it right now, probably somewhere within blocks of here, right? Is to do what's right for the greater cause, despite personal consequence and despite the opportunity for personal gains, right? It's to do what's right for the team, for the mission, right? For the city, for the whatever it is, right? So I think that's the burden of leadership, and I wear that every single day. Right. And that's why I teach leadership now, because being a leader it's a very lonely position. It's a lonely job. Yeah. Right. I'm lucky. My wife does it with me. Right. But at the end of the day, we have a hierarchy, like at the garage gym, and it starts and ends with me. Right. She has so much say. My full timers have so much say. But at the end of the day, it's my decision, and I will stand in front of the team if it doesn't work. Right.
And so you mentioned a little bit that, you used to have this personal brand that you marketed a lot, and that you do leadership coaching and speaking for. What kind of, like, when a company's hiring you to come and speak about leadership to their organization, I'm obviously assuming it's not not all of them are like 5 or 10 person organizations. We're talking organizations with, 50, 100 plus employees, if not thousands. What kind of things do they ask you to come and talk about? And why do they ask you to come talk about it?
Mental toughness, communication, team building, all those things are usually, right? If every single SWAT call I've ever done, communication has been written down on the things we can do better. Every single one, ever. Yeah. Right? So that is a real problem in every business and every, in every meeting and everything. So communications is a huge one of them. And then just leadership in general. And leadership, I think, where I always start is I teach them, like, you can't lead anything if you are not in charge of yourself. Mm-hmm. If you have no boundaries, no non-negotiables, no set schedule and procedures, then, standard operating procedures, you have nothing. If you whip into if I whipped in to do a drug raid, throwing a can of Red Bull, on top of another pile of Red Bull in my messy ass car and ran in there disheveled and tried to lead, it doesn't work because it's bullshit. Yeah. You have to be put together. You don't have to be, I'm not an over planner and not somebody who's planning for 3 months from now, but we have to have a concrete plan. You have to take care of yourself. So to take care of yourself, I really believe you have to have, a few traits. I say it's strength, self-awareness, protector, right? Are huge ones, right? So strength, self-awareness, protector, and then warrior. And I think people think warrior is not created in battle. Warrior is someone who is, is created through service to others, serving something greater than them. Yeah. And so those 4 traits is what I coach people on, and I coach whole rooms on, and then we go off from there wherever they need it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. I was thinking last night before we even came here today of, Jordan Peterson's, every person should have a warrior inside them, but actually be able to control it. Right. Because you have to be able to get stuff done. You have to be able to make decisions on the spot. From that leadership standpoint, I mean, I'm pretty confident that you're probably on the same side of, you got to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others, right? You got to be able to wake up and make your bed and all that kind of stuff. If you had to give somebody sort of one, maybe 2 pointers on how someone could better lead themselves, whether they're just a salesperson, whether they run a business organization, whether they're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur in a business, what would you say if someone didn't have, let's say, the best leadership, but they wanted to? Where do you think they should start?
Well, I think you look at those 4 things I said. So protector, and everybody thinks protector is protector, like me protecting my family coming in. There's obviously something to that, but it's me protecting my relationships and protecting my schedule. It's the fact I said here I'd be here at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock. Sorry, it's 1 o'clock now. Yeah. I said I'd be here at 12 o'clock. I'll be here at 12 o'clock. That's it. Yeah. I protect it, and that's respecting you. It's respecting me, right? It's keeping myself on task. I was self-awareness, some form of reflection every single day. At the end of my day, when I close up my day, I talk about the tasks I got done, what went well. It doesn't have to be a formal journal, but some kind of self-awareness a day, because I think that's where a lot of people are lacking, right? I think that's somewhere I can always improve on. We talked about strength. So strength of mind and body. So, taking, at least being accountable for what you're taking in and making sure you're doing, even if it's only a 10-minute walk a day, you're doing something that is helping you to be healthier, right? And then the last one, so we said strength, self-awareness, protector, right? We got all of those in. The very last one is warrior. And that is making sure that your decisions are for the greater cause rather than just you. You're looking at the bigger picture. Mission. We say, even on my little kids baseball team and my football teams that I coach, mission over man, right? Is that the mission is first. The man comes after that, right? Yeah. We can't have the mission without the man, though. So when we were on the teams, we always say family first, but it wasn't family first. It couldn't be. Yeah. Because if you chose your family
and I choose mine,
whose family is first?
Right.
So we can't choose over each other. So we have to make sure that we can get this job done so we can both value our family. We signed up for something that was bigger than us. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to miss your kid. We're going to do everything we can to get you to your kid's baseball game so you can see his first hit.
Yeah.
You know, so you can make it to their graduation, whatever it is. But sometimes when we go together, we need to roll 12 deep to get this job done.
Right. And everybody has to be on the same mission. They can't be thinking about other things, because that's when mistakes happen.
You got to be where their feet are. Be where your feet are right now.
Yeah. Interesting. And you said something not like a couple minutes ago when you said, you know, I don't have like these long goals, these things. And when we talked about this at coffee too, I said to you, where do you think the gym would be in like 5 or 10 years? And you were like, man, like, I don't even think 5 years out. Like, we're, you know, 1 to maybe 3 years at the max. Is that something because you learned from being on the teams? Is that something you just learned in business? Is it something that things can just change so fast that why even spend energy on a 5-year goal? And I asked that kind of for a reason, because I think for myself as a salesperson, we're constantly like, well, if I can sell this year and we can grow to this the next year and we can continue to grow, and 10 years from now, we're going to be here and I'll be doing all these things. But so many things can change between now and then. Right. And so is setting like a 1 to 3 year thing just something you've always done as like shorter term goals versus this big long-term thinking of a plan?
No, I mean, in SWAT, like we didn't, in policing in general, like I swear SWAT was easier in so many ways than patrol was, but because SWAT, I had the same 16 people. I knew their skill set. I knew what they were good at. I trusted them. You know, I knew everything about them. I know when he turns right, I'm going to, you know, it just, we had such cohesiveness, and a lot of things we're going to, we at least had some heads up. We were called in. They're like, this situation's going on. We have some kind of plan. Any plan is better than no plan, right? We're in patrol. It was like, oh my God, this is just happening. Like we just walked in here. We had no idea what's happening. And all of a sudden there's like literally I walked in on a murder happening. Like you don't really have the forethought, right? So in policing, my point was my plans were happening, but they're fast. They were like for the next like immediate future, maybe a raid in 2 weeks. Like it was a lot of planning for us, right? Most of it was like, hey, it's this morning and we're going to hit 123 Main Street today. Go make your plan, right? Whereas in business, when I first learned business stuff and I started, you know, I knew fitness and I knew all these things, but I had no idea how to run a business, zero. And I learned 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 1-year plan. And I just realized that every year I'm just redoing this stupid 10-year plan because like it became more of a waste of time. So yeah, I shortened that down to 3-year oversight plan, 1-year hard, strong plan. Right? Doesn't mean we might not pivot and move around in opportunities. I'm very, very big in tactics. It was like, if that door opens, we need to have, that might be our only opportunity. So we need to have some kind of plan in place to take advantage of the opportunity. So we're always trying to take advantage of opportunities that they come about in my business, but like, I don't find it much value in changing it. Even my week, I lock in meetings, right? I call those are like non-negotiables. So my meetings with other people, my non-negotiables in terms of like espresso with my wife every day, workout every day, I will lock those in. It's the only thing I lock in ahead of schedule. I will lock in tomorrow. I'll prioritize my tasks tonight for tomorrow because today something might get backed up. I was supposed to be at a thing after this and it's going to pour and that's going to be, so why mess the rest of my week up when I can just adjust and make things for tomorrow, but keep my non-negotiables locked in because those are the things that keep me healthy and protect my relationships.
Yeah. And so then as a person who's done these, 5-year, 10-year plans, learn that why are you doing the same thing over and over? And when you're not even getting there, how you obviously must have a vision of where you guys want to take this, because without that, you can't really decide what things to move around and what things to do. So how do you and Danny decide we don't have a 5 and a 10-year goal, but we do have a vision?
Yeah, we got a 3 to 5 year vision, and that's how we build our 1 year.
And that's plans. How you adjust things as needed.
Yeah, but it's not hyperly specific. And I might be totally wrong. And there's people who make a lot more money than me in business.
Sure.
But I know that what we're doing and what makes me happy, and the team that I need to care for, like it is insane to me that we started in our house and quit our jobs and that this business even takes care of me at this point and my wife and my family. But Nikki, who's my right hand, she's been here for 8-9 years, almost 10 years, but 8-9 years full time. Like, she has from this place gotten married. You know, her husband contributes too, obviously, but you know, the gym has played a big part. Her getting married, you know, a house, a car, having kids, all while she worked full time for us.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 2 or 3 other people in place. I've got my latest, like, you know, Austin, who's my facility leader in Amherstburg, young guy, 20, you know, low 20s. He's in freaking Portugal right now, man. Like, he's on vacation in Portugal, and this is where he works. To me, to think that that's what's happening as a result of this place, I'm very happy. And we're going to keep rolling with this in 3 to 5 years because our employees change, our team changes. We've had, I don't know, 10 people get hired as cops, paramedics, and firemen that have worked for us. You know, and those people were huge cogs in our system, and then they change, and we need to rotate. So putting too much weight into a 10-year plan when I don't really know who's going to be here other than me just doesn't seem to be the best use of my time. I'm all about efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, that's a SWAT guy for you right there. Got about efficiency. So then what, if you can share a little bit, what is sort of the vision then that you and Danny have for the garage gym? Is it something you guys are trying to turn into this massive brand with thousands of people, or sort of what is it that when you and Danny sit down and over a, you know, cup of coffee or whatnot, or an espresso, like when you guys are talking about what you want this thing to look like, obviously you want to continue to have members that have results. You want to continue to impact people positively, but like, what is that vision that allows you to make the pivots now?
The vision is that I want my 5 main players in this gym, my 5 full-time employees that like live off this gym, to be paid in a very overly fair way. I want them to be the leaders. I want people to look here. Why do people work at the garage gym for so long? And that's why, because we're hyper focused on investing in the roots, which is them. Without that team having 3 gyms, we don't do anything that we're doing right now.
Right.
And the last thing, we will have young people work for us, but this is, you know, nobody wants to come in who's 35, 40 years old. If you're paying us our membership rate, you've got some success in your life, right? You know, you've created you have some good finances going on, right? You've had some kind of success in something. Nobody wants to hear somebody come in at 18 years old, bark orders at them that's going to be there for 3 months.
Right.
Like, they are okay with that 18-year-old if they think that they're going to be there for a long time. And these people will actually help develop that trainer. If they did it to Austin, they did that. I didn't develop them, they developed them. And I really think that that's been our focus, is to like create the best team possible and make sure that they are, you know, properly compensated. And we've really set out on that. And if they're properly compensated, it means that we've created enough profits for Danny and I to be a little bit more comfortable. Right. Because we're not there yet. Like, you know, we have some success and we're very proud of what we do, but there's still things we want to do. For sure. Some traveling, and the kids are getting older and I'm getting older. Don't want to get up every day at 4 a.m. So yeah, I'm not in a rush to get myself out of here, but there's going to be a point where I, you know, probably like the, you know, 55-year-old guy is not going to be the one getting up at 5 a.m. to demonstrate the bench press. Yeah. That's got to happen at some point. Sure. Not now though.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, we're over time, so hopefully I didn't keep you too long. We always end the podcast asking the guests one question, which I didn't prepare you for. But that question is to Tony Smith, owner of the Garage Gym, ex-SWAT. What does success mean to you?
Oh, success is peace. Success is happiness, and happiness is peace. For me, just having some peace in my life is the best. Quiet, enjoying watching my children, hanging out with my wife, having some good friends, and, you know, and looking at this garage gym army as people who are really, really contributing, not just inside our walls, but outside of our walls through whatever and everything that we support. That's it.
Cool. I like that. I think, listen, at a certain point in time, I think without peace, without the tranquility of looking back and seeing what you built, I mean, what's it all for? Right. So I can definitely get behind that. love that.
Thanks for having me today, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the fact that you drove all the way out here from Amherstburg to come in. Hopefully this wasn't the only thing you did, but even if it was, I appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
That's another episode, guys, of Cracking the Success Vault here with Spectre Group. As always, you can find us on your podcast streaming, YouTube, you name it, you know where to find us. We'll be here next time.